I thought it was all over.
Welcome back to Roll Coverage, where we talk about sports for sports' sake. My name is Nick. I'm going to be your host today. Just wanting to kind of get off. NFL's about to kick off. I'm actually recording this on 9/6 on Wednesday. It will go up later on tonight. There's some topics I want to get to. Got them written down. If I look down, that's why. If you look above, you'll see some of the topics we're going to get into. First one I want to talk about, though, is a big miss in the NBA by so many teams. I'm gonna specifically talk about Christian Wood. Christian Wood, previously with the Rockets, was a very, very good, very serviceable, possibly in the wrong situation kind of player. Now, personally, I am a Charlotte Hornets fan, diehard, love them to death. I really wanted them to go get Christian Wood. Since they allowed the Lakers to go get him for a ridiculously cheap contract. I do not know why he signed that. It's going to absolutely help them, obviously, because Anthony Davis doesn't like to play center. Now, the biggest thing I have with it personally is Christian Wood was massively underpaid, and I hope it's to win a championship. Now, I think that Christian Wood makes the Lakers considerably more of a contender, considerably more ready to win now because they have him. Obviously, Austin Reeves, LeBron, AD, got a few more pieces in there. Rumors that they're going to go look at Cooper Flagg in the future, because apparently the kid's literally the future, according to a bunch of Twitter analysts. But when it comes to this Christian Wood signing, I'm just absolutely floored at why he did it for so cheap. I'm going to pull up the actual terms of the contract. Talking about he's always had a dream to be a Laker. I mean, most people have. Just so you know, he's started with the Rockets first year, then moved on to the Mavs, where he had a pretty good last year. Let me pull it up over here. So it's a 2-year, $5.7 million, like you can see above. Yeah, I don't see it. He averaged 16.6 points, 7.3 rebounds last year, including a 30.8 rebound, 4 steal Christmas Day victory over the Lakers. I just don't see it. I feel like Christian Wood could have been much better serviced in another place. With what the Celtics just did, they could have absolutely gotten Christian Wood instead of a Kristaps and not traded all that talent away, or at least traded it for something that would have been a lot more complimentary. So for that reason, I'm not too happy with this Christian Wood trade. Again, I'm a Hornets fan, so I was really hoping he would come to us. But regardless, I wish him the best with the Lakers. Now, when it comes to the Lakers' depth, there's a lot to be desired, we'll say. Now, D'Lo, I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm glad they brought him back. Gabe Vincent, I like. He was pretty good. I like Vanderbilt. Rui, obviously. Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish, LeBron, AD, of course. Now, obviously, they are going to run that D'Lo, Reeves, LeBron, Vanderbilt, Davis. But I think now Vanderbilt goes to the bench. Davis comes in. Christian Wood is their starting center. Unless they decide to do Wood as the power forward and then AD as a mock 5, essentially, or like a fill-in 5. I just don't know. Overall, though, this makes the Lakers better. This is a great acquisition for the Lakers. It would have been a great acquisition for a lot of teams, but especially for them, where you have a power forward that doesn't power forward center, more, I would personally say center, but didn't like playing that position. So this acquisition is perfect for you guys. Again, Christian Wood, going to go out there and kill it. I'm excited for the future of it. This does change the West a little bit. Obviously, it removes Wood from the Mavs and everything like that, returning there and everything. But they have a pretty solid roster, I must say. I am going to pull up theirs, because I'm pretty sure they don't have a crazy center that I can think of. Yeah, Dwight Powell, I'm not a fan of. Maxi Kleber over Grant Williams. Kyrie, Luka. I'm not a Mavs fan, man. I think that Luka needs to get a better, more supportive player. Kyrie's obviously not the best. Grant Williams, I'm not a fan of. Just overall, Luka's by far their best player, and the number 2 is a massive drop-off between Luka Doncic and the second best player. Even if that's Kyrie, it's still a pretty significant drop-off. So for that reason, I'm going to give this A grade for the Lakers. For the rest of the league, is a big ol' F. You guys let him get away, especially for such a cheap contract. If he took that contract because he wanted to be a Laker, I'm happy with that. I'm cool with that. If he took that contract just to try and sneak in, just try and help them out, I mean, to be honest, he could have gotten 15, 20 million anywhere else. So this is a big, big win by the Lakers. So for that reason, we're going to move on to the next topic. It's going to be the top rookie wide receivers. Be right back. Hey, welcome back, guys. We're going to get right into it. We're talking about top rookie wide receivers. I'm even going to throw in some second years kind of in there, but this is mainly going to be the rookie wide receiver class. So this one's going to be a crazy one this year, guys. We've obviously had some issues with injury, speaking specifically about Jackson Smith-Njigba over in Seattle, who I think is going to be amazing and is going to garner a trade from DK. It's going to get one from Tyler Lockett. It's going to get a move. He's such a great player. We've seen it in training camp. Obviously, we've got it a little bit reserved due to the limitations due to the injury, but apparently he's going to play week 1. So for that reason, I'm putting Njigba in this, especially going into week 1. Now, when it comes to the other ones, okay, we're going to pull it up. I'm going to use Dynasty rankings here. They ranked 2023 wide receivers, so they're going to put Quentin Johnson as number 1. I do not believe that is the high end. I personally think that that's way off. I think that the people below him are much better. To be honest, I don't think he should be in the top 6. Quentin Johnson is going to play well. He's going to do great things with the Chargers, but they already have 2 really good wide receivers. Again, also talking about Njigba. He's the 3 on that team, but I think that they're going to move somebody in an attempt to get some more talent in. So watch out for that. 2, they have Jackson Smith-Njigba, at least on this one. So it's Quentin Johnson, Jackson, then Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Jonathan Mingo, Jalen Hyatt. So personally, out of those ones right there, I'm looking at the rest of them, Jaden Reed, Xavier Hutchinson, all those guys. Okay. I would personally take Quentin Johnson out of their top 5. Mine would be Njigba. Actually, no, mine would be Jordan Addison, 1. 2 is going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba. 3 would be Zay Flowers. 4 would be Jonathan Mingo. 5 would be Jalen Hyatt. 6 would be Quentin Johnson. The reason why I say that, and I'm going to go from the bottom up. So I'm going to go from where they have it. They have Jalen Hyatt as 6. Okay. Jalen Hyatt will be a wide receiver 1, at worst 2, by the trade deadline. When we go and look at the Giants depth chart, we see a lot of gaps, especially in that wide receiver position. Okay. People are going to say Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, Wan'Dale Robinson are just better. Okay. Hodgins, Slayton, Paris, they're good. Jalen Hyatt's ceiling is considerably higher than all 3 of those wide receivers, or if you include Wan'Dale. Sterling Shepard I really like, but he's right now they're kind of in the same thing. I think that their first 6 receivers, Hodgins, Slayton, Campbell, Robinson, Hyatt, and Shepard, there is a clear gap. Jalen Hyatt showed that in the preseason game. He showed it when he absolutely made that DB look just ridiculous. Dude had 10 feet of separation standing in the end zone damn near. So expect that. I'm expecting Jalen Hyatt, personally, 700 plus yards, 50 plus catches, no problem. Probably, I'm going to say 5 touchdowns his first year, but I think that Jalen Hyatt is going to be a big guy to get. I'm also a big fantasy guy, just so you know. Row Coverage does 50 fantasy leagues every year. This year I've got 45 of them drafted, so I've got 5 more to draft before kickoff. Very excited to do that. Very excited to finish it up and kind of, get the whole ball rolling. But my dark horse candidate in all of my leagues, my last pick in every single one of my leagues is Jalen Hyatt, and it's Jalen Hyatt for a reason. He is going to ascend that depth chart so quickly, it's going to be too late. Somebody's going to think about him, after the first game and go pick him up off waivers. If you're a fantasy owner, you need to go get Jalen Hyatt. Especially if you're in one of those dynasty leagues where you're going to play for years with friends and everything like that, pick up Jalen Hyatt. If you can get him for, late, if you can get him for cheap, whatever, or you can get him for free, go get him. He is going to be a factor very, 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 very quickly in this league. He's got the speed. He's got Daniel Jones, which I know a lot of people are going to say that's bad, but he definitely can distribute the ball. Not at the highest level, but this is only his first year. Give him some time to develop, talking about Jalen Hyatt. I also think that with Saquon Barkley being a great back, I think that he is going to take up quite a bit. I think they're going to use him a lot as a regular running back, but also a lot out of the back, like receiving out of the backfield. So again, if you're going to look at people, I think Barkley's going to be a big one to pick up as well. Going back to my top 5, Jalen Hyatt, or I had Jonathan Mingo. I love Jonathan Mingo. I think he's great. I was very happy when my Carolina Panthers, again, full disclosure, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. I was very happy when we went to go get Jonathan Mingo. I love a bunch of receivers in this draft. Mingo was up there because I really love the physicality that he brings to the game. We've already seen a few things in preseason. If you've been watching the Panthers docu-series online, they had a Blueprint series. They have Camp Confidential. They got a bunch of stuff going on. I love the behind the scenes where you're really seeing this man catch the ball, really be able to shake off a tackle and take it the full distance. Jonathan Mingo is going to be a problem, especially over the center. I'm not expecting as much, down deep kind of thing unless he's just wide open. But obviously the advantage of having Bryce Young, the former college #1 player, helps out quite a bit. So for that reason, I think Mingo's going to have a lot. Now, things that I also want to add to that is, again, since I am a Panthers fan, I'm also very reserved about picking my Panthers, we'll say. So when it comes to that, I'm going to pull up the Panthers depth chart because I believe today we had an update on Adam Thielen. So Adam Thielen, as of right now on Wednesday at 5:26 p.m., is currently listed as questionable, limited participant with an ankle injury, which means it pushes Jonathan Mingo up the depth chart. Going to the next one, DJ Chark. I liked Chark when he was at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chark didn't practice. Says it was updated 4 hours ago, so about 1:26 p.m. my time, Mountain Time. He had a hamstring and didn't practice today. So we're seeing some things already with Mingo's going to be able to go up, up, up. Now, if all three of those guys don't play, you're talking about our first game playing Mingo most likely as our 1. Laviska, Terrace, maybe a Thielen or a Chark if they can actually make it in the game. But you're talking about 3-4 receivers. So I would definitely take Mingo big the first game, especially if both Thielen, and Chark are going to not play. It's going to be a huge advantage to a lot of fantasy owners, especially since I'm seeing Thielen slip a lot and Mingo's going really, really, really late in a lot of these fantasy drafts. I would really look out for that. Now, when it comes to his numbers, I'm expecting Mingo to be north of 700 yards. I'm expecting him to be north of about 60, 65 catches. I'm expecting him to be a staple. Again, another wide receiver 1-2 by the end of the year, like I was speaking with Jalen Hyatt. Now, the next one is kind of where we start adjusting more. Now, we're going to go to Zay Flowers. I love Zay Flowers. I think he's absolutely going to be fantastic for the Cardinals. For the Ravens. I cannot speak today, man. I cannot speak. So when I go pull it up, I'm going to go pull up the Ravens depth chart. So one of the things about their depth chart specifically is obviously they were previously a run-first team. Now with the acquisition of Odell Beckham and bringing him into town, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Aguilar, Duvernay, and Tylan Wallace. That's a pretty solid wide receiver core. First 2, I don't think Rashad Bateman's number 1. I'm sorry. He was there. That's great. I would put OBJ 1, Bateman 2, Flowers 3. That's arguably one of the best wide receiver cores for 1, 2, 3. Now, I mean wide receivers, not pass catchers, because we go pass catchers. The one thing that I think is overlooked are running backs. With that, I would probably put a lot of running backs up there as well. So something to think about. I think it's going to be really well. It just depends on how they distribute the ball. Mark Andrews is already questionable, so I'm obviously very worried about that. He was limited due to a quadricep injury. I like Isaiah Likely, though, the dude behind him. Coastal Carolina. I don't know if you guys are big fans of NCAA football or college football, but I'm a big lover of college football. Revamped the NCAA 14 mod, basically, for the old NCAA 2014 game. And I used to play with him all the time. I love Coastal Carolina. I love the jerseys and the whole. I just love the aesthetic. So I've obviously played with him quite a bit. Can't wait to see him in the league. But no, I'm very excited for Zay Flowers. I mean, obviously OBJ's already shouting him out and everything, so we've got some good stuff coming up with him. So for that reason, that's why I'm putting him down there. Next one, I would probably go Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he's going to be amazing. He did have a injury in the preseason. I believe it was to his hand. Let me confirm. So they're already saying they're expecting him to play week 1, which would be great, after suffering a wrist injury. So obviously he's a receiver. Wrist is not the greatest thing to be injured. But to be honest, again, I'm expecting them, if Njigba really is what everybody says he was out of college, if he really becomes who everybody wants him to become, then they are going to trade Lockett or DK, or both, to be honest. I wouldn't trade both. Personally, I'm at the point now where I love DK's size. I think it's going to be a massive matchup nightmare, especially if you can keep him on, and trade Lockett. But Lockett's nobody to scoff at, so it's going to be a weird thing either way. It's also, where does he go and what do you get back? If you're going to go out there, you could go out there and trade for one of these younger wide receivers, kind of get rid of that big salary, free it up, so this way you can maybe go and do something else, get something else, whatever it may be. I think it could be really interesting. Now, the one that I'm going to go off about, the one who I absolutely make sure to poach in all of my leagues, no matter what, because I'm so excited for him, is Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison is in one of my favorite leagues. I used to work for a company called Sprint. I got a big old thing with all my Sprint crew. Shout out, y'all. I went to go do my draft, and I was 10 minutes behind, so I auto-drafted, and of course, I was number 1. Terrible. Worst place to pick, in my opinion, is number 1. When it comes to Jay Jettis, the first thing I did was look at getting rid of him, and I'm actually going to trade him in my league for some more depth, because I have Jordan Addison. Like I think that Jordan Addison doesn't end this year under 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. I think he's going to get a great target share, especially with Jay Jettis out there. The major loss, in my opinion, of Dalvin Cook is going to fuel the passing game quite a bit. So this is going to be Kirk's opportunity to really start hucking that ball out there. I'm really excited for that. I'm excited to see this. Addison is going to be a problem for a lot of people. I mean, and then when I get out of it, so like, let's say, for example, I get out of my top 5, Quentin Johnson, I've seen some of his plays. I'm very excited for him as well. I loved Mims, Michael Wilson, Cedric Tillman, Trey Palmer, Puka Nakua, he was good. And then the one that I'm going to leave you all with is this. The one person that I would also look out for, especially if you're in a big fantasy league, if you don't have him already, I think he's going to go out quite a bit, and he's going to explode, especially with the injury of the person ahead of him, and that is Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson is going to be a problem in the league, especially if Sam Howell can actually put it together and be a competent quarterback that doesn't throw games away. He is going to be. He's not a first year from what I can remember. I'm pretty sure he was there last year. Like, dude, yeah, 2 years. Okay, good. So yeah, he was there last year. But I'm very excited for this man. I'm very excited for the future. Last year he had 35 receptions on 61 targets for 524 yards. I'm expecting him to blow that out of the water. Probably 800 yards, 9 touchdowns. I mean, he's going to be a really good one. So for that reason, I think that this is going to be the year of the rookie wide receiver. And I think next year is going to be the year of the rookie quarterback. The reason why I say that is because obviously this wide receiver class is crazy. Next year, we're already looking for, oh, geez. I'm so sorry. I forgot your name. I'm pretty sure it is Marvin Harrison Jr., but I want to make sure, from Ohio State. The wide receiver that's going to come out next year, dude, is ridiculous. I'm like 95% sure. Sorry, it makes me go through their entire thing for some reason. Yeah, it is him. Okay. Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., 6'4". Dude's ridiculous. Like, next year, he is going to be the main one. Now, obviously, there's going to be some wide receivers. There's always good wide receivers, always good running backs that come out. But next year, I think, is going to be a big year for quarterback. Biggest one that I think is going to be the one that throws a wrench in a lot of people's years is I think that the Caleb Williams is going to look at staying in college if Arizona has the number one pick. If the Rams have the number one pick, which I could absolutely see them tanking for, which we'll get to later on, it's one of our last topics. I can absolutely see this happening. The Rams trade away Donald and a bunch of other stuff and then bring him in there. Then you got guys like Bo Nix. You got Quinn Ewers. You got the kid from, I think the kid from Florida State can come out. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your name. Shadur Sanders might come out now that he has his eligibility set up. Like, there's going to be a few guys that come out quarterback-wise. It's going to shake it up, and I think there's going to be some traded. The big one being Kyler Murray before the end of the year, which I think changes a lot. Now, best places for all of them, personally, I think that Caleb Williams, if he is going to come out this year, he needs to basically make sure that it's the Rams that has the number one pick, because without that, I wouldn't mess with it. Do not go to Arizona. You're going to get Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray, whatever you want to call it, but that don't go. Again, this is the year of the rookie wide receiver. Next year is going to be the year of the rookie quarterback. I'm excited for our rookie quarterbacks this year. Don't get me wrong. My Panthers have Bryce Young. I want him to throw 5,000 yards, no picks, and 50 touchdowns this year, but I obviously have to be realistic as well. So regardless, this is Nick with Roll Coverage. We're going to move on to the next topic where we're going to talk a little bit about the Kelce injury. Scary stuff, man. Scary stuff. Be right back. This is your host, Nick. I'm going to get right back into it. Talking about some injuries. Two of them to be specific. I'm going to kind of bring them together. It's going to be Travis Kelce, depending on what you want to say, Jalen Waddle. Now, they're both of them are going to affect their teams in a very, very large way. The way that I can see that happening, to be honest with you, is one, Patrick Mahomes has only played one game, and it was his first game without Travis Kelce. So that's obviously a major safety net for him. There's also a personal rule that I like to follow, which is younger quarterbacks or developing quarterbacks need a great tight end. Now, obviously, I personally mean great receiving-wise. Blocking obviously comes into it, but we can obviously see the drop-off between Travis and, say, for example, somebody like George Kittle, who is a much better blocker than Travis Kelce is. With that, I think that his portion of the offense when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, while may seem understated, is actually understated. There's been quite a few times over the years where we've seen Patrick Mahomes in trouble, dumps it off to Kelce, he's able to get an extra few yards, and they're able to continue to drive. Now, obviously, they're talking about him playing. I'm actually going to reference an article here in just one moment. But at what point do we realize that they really need a good secondary tight end? Now, they've got some depth. I'll give them that. They've got a lot of all of that. They've got a decent wide receiver core. You have one of the best coaches of all time. I mean, to be honest, a pantheon coach. You're talking about Andy Reid, a guy who was able to train with people on the offensive side of the ball that are just absolutely bananas. Mahomes, even Alex Smith, Michael Vick at one point. I mean, Reid has got the juice when it comes to that. Now, when it comes to that depth, especially at that tight end position, I don't think that they have anybody that I can really say that I love. Now, obviously, Kelce's great. Blake Bell, Noah Gray. Personally, not a big fan of Noah Gray. Don't know a whole lot about Blake Bell, but I will do some research on him. That tight end position is so integral. Now, when it comes to the article, it's actually from the Arrowhead Report over on SI's Fan Nation. The article was written by Joshua Briscoe about 11 hours ago, entitled Travis Kelce's Knee Injury, Details and Timetable Reported, Update from Jason Kelce. So, obviously, Kansas City head coach Andy Reid slowed the NFL world down to a halt on Tuesday when he announced that superstar tight end Travis Kelce had hyperextended his knee. On Wednesday morning, two updates came from his brother and from Ian Rappaport. Rap Sheet came out and said that his injury looks like a quote-unquote bone bruise and is a good sign for Kelce's long-term health, but still severe enough to keep his status unknown for Thursday night with the Chiefs hosting the Detroit Lions. So, I mean, the hyperextended knee, he is a receiving back. That's obviously cause for concern. It's actually one of the reasons why, personally, I am off of the Burrow bandwagon this year because I think that calf injury and his history of injury going to come back and plague him. I think that this is the start of Kelce's decline. Now, I know he's had a ton of 1,000-yard seasons in a row. I think he can continue that, especially with the new game added on. The problem lies in health and safety. And it's going to take a while for him to recover. It's going to be hard for him to recover in the middle of the season. And I think this is going to be something that is going to linger. If this is the year where he finally doesn't have 1,000-yard receiving or 1,000 yards receiving, then that kind of is what it is. He's no longer wide receiver one. But he still might be, even if he's got 900 plus yards. I think he's still going to be up there. He's going to be a major red zone threat, as always. He's going to power through it as best he can, like Gronk did during his injuries and everything like that. But this is a pattern in the NFL where we're starting to see so many more players getting hurt right before the season starts. Now, I understand that gives them a little bit more time to heal, but that's the worst time. I mean, there's so many people that drafted Kelce just before that injury happened, and now obviously their fantasy season has a big old speed bump. Now, I obviously do not believe that players should base their entire lives or any part of their lives on fantasy. I'm just speaking more from the perspective of fantasy is a direct reflection of team success. You're seeing these fantasy teams getting bills of guys that are going hard with Travis Kelce. I'm one of them. If I have a top 5 pick, most of the time I will take Travis Kelce over pretty much anybody. I think that tight end position is so crucial. Like I said, I love the idea of pairing it with a young quarterback. Personally, my Panthers brought in Hayden Hurst, and I'm very excited about that. I'm very, very excited for that. I love the dog he has inside of him. I love what he can do. But again, it's that health thing that I really want to stress to everybody is the make or break for most teams. Biggest example would be the Chargers last year or the year before. I think it was 2 years ago. We're on a tear, doing so well, but injury bugs kill us. San Francisco 49ers probably could have won a Super Bowl last year if they had, a healthy quarterback the entire time, or at least could have competed at a really high level. So I think that's going to be a problem for a lot of people. And then when we go into other pass catchers that have injuries, the one that we're going to get to, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp. I could have swore somebody else just got hurt too. Oh, Breece Hall still nursing his injury. I would call him a receiving back, even though he can still carry the rock like crazy. He's great at receiving. Dalvin Cook coming back. There's a lot of people that are coming back and coming into great situations. I just need that health to stay there. I want you guys to play for a long time. I want you guys to really make your money and really just kill it out there. But we can't do that if you're not on the field. So please, Travis, get healthy. Please, Jalen Waddle, get healthy. Healthy. When it comes to the Dolphins, though, his is a little bit more interesting. His is a midsection issue. Obviously going to be a problem being a wide receiver, not only catching the ball, but just taking those beatings that they take up in that stomach area. Waddle was literally one of the best things that the Dolphins could have ever done. When he was coming out of college, I'm going to bring in, one day I'll bring my boy Bug on here, who's a diehard Dolphins fan. Shout out Bug. And I told him before the draft, everyone's talking about Devonta Smith. Everyone's like, man, we need to go get him. And I'm like, bro, you guys are going to get Jalen Waddle, and it's going to be okay. He's the better of the two. No offense, he is. Devonta Smith is good. He is a 2 on his team, 3 on a lot of teams, but he's up there. Jalen Waddle is 1 on a lot more teams. Personally, I think he's better than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek's got the speed, but his goal this year is going to be to break 2,000 yards, and I just think that Waddle's there to make the team better and not personal success. So for that, I'm going to put Waddle above Hill. Obviously, I understand they have a little bit different statistics and everything like that, but Waddle is the kind of receiver that teams want. I mean, look at the Steelers. George Pickens is drafted in most fantasy leagues over Deontay Johnson. At least a lot of the ones that I've been in, which is crazy to think about. Like, if I was to go get a Dolphins wide receiver, I would take Jalen Waddle most of the time over Tyreek Hill until this injury happened. This stomach thing is going to be a lingering problem. Again, it's hard to get better when you have to work out, when you have to play games, when you have to do the NFL football lifestyle every week. Like, they're getting into it now. If this had happened months ago, then I wouldn't be worried. But obviously, going into the season, Waddle is going to fade, especially when it comes to fantasy, because people are going to be scared about the injury. Now, they're saying it's nothing. They're not giving us any inkling as to what could be the best timetable for him to come back 100% healthy. But going into the season, I just don't think he's going to be able to get healthy. So if you're a Waddle fan, I mean, I know I'm kind of waddling in my chair here, but I think these guys really need to have a good look in the mirror. You really need to think about the future of this franchise. They're already talking about that the Dolphins are going to go to a Super Bowl, and I just don't see it, especially with the Waddle injury, especially with the history with Tua. I just don't see it. Now, don't get me wrong. If I end up seeing you all in the Super Bowl down the road, I'll be super happy for you. Go Dolphins. I just don't see it happening this year, or next year for that matter. I feel like they need, again, to come into a season fully healthy, and I feel like with their poor running back core, it's going to make it even worse because they're going to know you're going to have to throw it. So for that reason, I'm kind of out on those two this year. Again, I'm still going to take Kelce as much as I can, even because he'll just be a trading piece. And same thing with Waddle. But those injuries, guys, I really want you to get healthy. I want you to come back. I want you to kill this year. I'm very excited for the offensive showcase we're going to get, and I'm very sad that these two are going to be out more than, say, a game. But if it's better for their long-term health, that's what I want. So for that reason, we're going to move on to the next topic, talking about Nick Bosa getting paid and some of the defensive holdouts that we're seeing in the NFL. So, be right back. Okay, this is Roll Coverage. We're back. We are talking about defensive holdouts and Nick Bosa getting paid. Pizz-aid, as Rich Eisen would say. Like, I'm happy Bosa got his money. Don't get me wrong, he got the most money. I'm pulling up the exact deal. 49ers signed defensive end Bosa to a 5-year, $170 million extension, ending his 44-day holdout. Congratulations, San Francisco. You did the right thing. You paid the man. The deal will make, by the way, it includes $122.5 million completely guaranteed to the player. Others are incentives, of course. Does make him the highest paid defensive player in NFL history, led the NFL last year with 18.5 sacks, and won Defensive Player of the Year in 2022. 34-year annual salary is now ahead of Rams tackle, defensive tackle Donald, and then ahead of TJ Watt. Now, that's a $6 million difference between him and TJ Watt. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of that money being incentivized and stuff like that, but I'm going to be honest, Watt and Bosa, pretty good guys. When it comes to his stats, though, I'm going to put something on the screen up of a guy that's holding out. I happen to find this on Twitter. Shout out. And it's going to be the comparing stats between Brian Burns and Nick Bosa. Okay. Brian Burns is my Panthers running back. Jeez. Defensive tackle. Sorry, my brain is all over the place. Brian Burns has more games played, more pass deflections, more tackles, or total tackles, more solo tackles, more assisted tackles. Now, Bosa has 1 interception to Burns 0. He has 1 more forced fumble. He has 5 more total sacks, and he has 13 more tackles for loss. Brian Burns is still to get paid, and reportedly he wants upwards of $26 million. I'm totally fine with that. Considering on paper, he's in a lot of categories better than Nick Bosa. Yeah, we'll give him $26 million. And my Panthers are going to fight it. They're going to, whine, but we need to pay this man. Brian Burns needs to get his money. Like, what are we doing? Who are we, holding out for? Are we just going to go into the season with some scrub? No, you should pay Brian Burns because clearly his stats reflect him deserving that. I don't understand so much when it comes to these holdouts. Obviously, I want players to get paid and everything like that, but obviously it's counterproductive to not be there. But at the same time, you have to send a message because if you're showing up every day, doing everything, then why address the money issue? Well, I understand it. I'm happy that it's done for him. I'm not happy that it's not done for Chris Jones of the Chiefs. I'm not happy that it's not done for Brian Burns. These holdouts are going to affect their teams. 49ers obviously got it done because they want to win. They're in win now mode. Darnold shipping Lance out, making Purdy the definitive starter post injury. This Bosa thing, I think he's great. Obviously his brother, I thought his brother would be good, but Joey Bosa is just not the same level as Nick Bosa. So I think the Chargers kind of got screwed on that end too, but I'm happy that he got paid. I don't understand how people aren't. I understand that the 49ers have a lot more money now because they don't have to pay a quarterback. So it makes it a lot easier for them. And I think that's going to be a model of a lot of quarterbacks going forwards. Speaking of holdout, one that's not really talked about, something to kind of keep your brain on, your eyes on, and everything is going to be Joe Burrow because he still does not have a contract. And that's really interesting this year. The cap injury obviously bothers me quite a bit. But given his production and everything like that, I'm not worried about it. But when it comes to those people on that list, Burns, Watt, Donald, I think that Donald's going to be traded. So I think he's going to go someplace. I think it'd be absolutely crazy for the Niners to, really pull off the trade of the century kind of thing and go bring Aaron Donald there. But obviously they're not going to let him go from LA to San Francisco. They're going to trade him to some random place for as much as they can. But moving from Bosa to Watt might be on the best defense in the league. Now, I'm personally saying top 5 defenses are going to be, in no particular order, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Philly, and 2's 4. Personally, 4, I'm going to give it to Seattle Seahawks. I'm very excited to see the Seahawks defense this year. I'm very excited to see what they're going to be able to put up. I think that Pete Carroll's amazing when it comes to that. I'm just really excited for that. So really watch out for Seattle as well. But in that is the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin, which is going to be our next topic right after this intermission. See you in a second. Back. We're going to start talking about Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers and just what I'm imagining for them going forward. It's going to be crazy. Now, obviously, I'm going to take the Steelers defense as top 5 for sure. I think they are going to absolutely blow the doors off of so many people. Watt's paid. Defense is ready to go. Tomlin is just a savant when it comes to the NFL. I'm not a Pittsburgh fan, but man, if he left, I would have my Carolina Panthers go after him like crazy. I think he is absolutely amazing and perfect for that organization. Now, offensive side. I've already put it up. Kenny, the Ticket Pickett. Shout out Kenny Pickett. I think you're going to be amazing. This year is going to be north of 4,000 yards. I think you'll be about 32-ish touchdowns. Probably a little higher on the on the interceptions, meaning 13. And I mean that's going to be high. It's going to be a lot of tip balls and everything like that. So I'm expecting you to really get it done on the offensive side. Najee Harris is absolutely an asset with the Pittsburgh Steelers that cannot go unnoticed. Great running back. He can still receive out of the backfield. Your quote-unquote wide receiver 1 right now, Deontay Johnson, I like. That's it. I like him. He's got some size. He's got some speed. He's got hands. He's a really good wide receiver 2 in my position. And that's because I think your true wide receiver 1 is George Pickens. I think the Pickett to Pickens connection is going to be that is surpassed only by Antonio Brown, if that. I think that Pickett and Pickens together can be a Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown kind of thing. And I mean a better version of Antonio Brown. Now, obviously, I'm setting the bar really high for Pickens, but I just mean in the Steelers uniform. Obviously, AB at that time, when he was a Steeler, was absolutely electric, crazy, one of the best route runners of all time. I mean, arguably one of the best wide receivers overall of all time. I think Pickens is going to start nipping at those heels here soon. I think this is going to be a big old breakout year for him, which is going to help accelerate their offense and help them win more games. Last year, the Steelers had a few games not really go their way just because their offense couldn't really get off the ground. I think Pickens, Harris, and Pickett are able to absolutely remedy that. I do also believe that they're going to make a splash at wide receiver at some point, so look out for that. I personally think that, again, there's going to be a few guys that are going to go up, some either DK or Lockett in Seattle, Godwin or Evans in Tampa. I think that Keenan Allen might be on the trading block at some point. I think there's going to be a few guys, so I'd really watch out. I think that there's going to be some big names traded, if not this trade deadline, immediately after the year. But again, this Steelers team is stacked. If they were to add somebody like a Godwin or a Lockett, I think that could be a ridiculous team, especially because their defense is not going to allow you guys to really get out ahead of it. So for that reason, I'm going big on the Steelers this year. I'm not a big Steelers guy already. I loved Pickett coming out of college. I'm very excited after his first year. This is going to be the year where they put it together. They win 10-plus games. They're probably 2 in their division. And if there's going to be 3 teams winning out of a division and going forward to the playoffs, it's going to be this. It's going to be the Ravens, Steelers, and Bengals. I do not see the Browns in it at all, so I'm writing them off. I'm sorry, Browns fans, but if I'm wrong, you can call me out. I just don't see it. But for that reason, that's why I'm going to really put my faith into Tomlin. Tomlin deserves it. Tomlin is absolutely all-time. And to think of him as any other way is absolutely crazy. But with that, Steelers are the, ready to win now mode and everything like that. And personally, this next article I'm going to talk about is the Cowboys, who I think are close, but still too far. Now, I have a possible solution for the Cowboys. First thing that I'm going to get into, though, is Jerry Jones talking about Dak, saying he's going to be there for a quote-unquote long time. Now, personally, I hate hearing this from owners, especially somebody like Jerry Jones, who I do not believe anything that comes out of his mouth almost, because I just don't think he's the best owner for the Cowboys. He's a great man when it comes to making money and all that other stuff, but when it comes to the X's and O's of really knowing the game, I just feel like there's something missing. There's too much of a fanboy in him that allows him to, make just weird comments sometimes. Like this one. I just don't like it. I don't know why. It's just rubbing me the wrong way. But I want to explore a trade with people, okay? So there's a certain gentleman who is going to be on the trading block this year. That man is going to be Kyler Murray. Now, when it comes to this, I'm going to pull up Trade Machine. So I know it is in division. This trade I'm thinking of, so it would be like between the Cardinals and the Cowboys. So what it would do, because they need a quarterback, an actually good quarterback, or they need to tank. So personally, I would probably try and do a 3-team trade. Who really needs a quarterback? Okay. Cowboys are going to get rid of him, so first thing I'm going to go with, let's see. Taking me a second, I'm just pulling it up. Just so you guys know, I use fanspo.com. I use their NFL trade machine. That's great. When it comes to, there's little Kyler Murray. Oh my God, I went to the bottom and they have a DB named Kyler McMichael. And I'm like, wait, did we just call him? Yeah, this is real. Okay. Legit cannot find this man on this. It doesn't put them in order for the weirdest reason. DJ Ojolari, who I freaking love. Oh, okay. It's just not giving me the option to even see Kyler Murray here. Isaiah White. Kevin Strong. So looking at all the K's trying to. Okay, anyways. It would be with the Cardinals. So the Cardinals would trade essentially Kyler Murray to the Cowboys. So the Cowboys obviously need to deal with Dak then. Dak would want to be traded Oh my God. You want to talk about blockbuster now that I think about it. Okay, I got it. Let me try the trade. Okay, it would work. Okay. Cowboys have a good start to the season. I'm gonna set up the scene for you guys. Okay, I want you to follow me here. Cowboys have a rough start of the season. We pull up theirs. Cowboys start in schedule. Okay. Cowboys beat Giants. Great. Cowboys lose to New York. Not great. Cowboys win Arizona. Great. So they're 2-1. Lose New England. Lose San Francisco. Lose Chargers. Now they're really looking behind the 8 ball. They're really looking for what they can do. Kyler Murray's probably back by then. If not, you're just trying to figure out what you're going to do with the year. So you do a 3-team trade. You have the Cardinals trade you Kyler Murray. This would all be straight up. So it'd be quarterback for quarterback for quarterback in this 3-team trade. Kyler gets shipped to the from the Cardinals to the Cowboys. Cowboys ship Dak to a franchise that needs a better, more consistent quarterback. The Denver frickin' Broncos. And the Broncos send Russell Wilson to the Cowboys. As long as Russell Wilson can kind of put it together and everything this year, and at least look competent, get back to football. Imagine him going with Jerry Jones, going with that whole thing. I mean, he already is quote unquote bigger than life, and I've seen a few quotes out there where Sean Payton's telling him, it's not all about you and it's not about your brand and blah blah blah. Imagine him going to a place where they really value the brand. I mean, it would be an absolutely ridiculous trade. But, I mean, you get Dak Prescott with Sean Payton, no offense, I think does a lot better of a job than him. God. So looking at the Cowboys would be crazy. Absolutely crazy. But obviously in that scenario, that means that Kyler wouldn't have to go there. You'd have to send Kyler to Denver, which I think would actually help out. But I think Kyler or Russell Wilson would be the best 2 options for the Cowboys if they choose to not go draft a quarterback in the future. Because I think that this whole Jones-Dak quote is absolutely smoke and mirrors and is just setting Dak up to fail. So I'm completely out on the Cowboys. This quote made it even worse for me. Unless you guys go get a different quarterback, I'm not going to believe in you. Your defense cannot carry you to a championship. If that's the case, then the 49ers would have been able to do it because they have a way better defense than you. So for that reason, I'm pretty much completely out on the Cowboys. I think they will make the playoffs. But I also think that this quote is writing on the wall for the future of the Cowboys and their franchise. I think that they are going to absolutely explore trade in the offseason or during the season, depending on what comes up. Again, if they can make a trade Dak for Russell Wilson straight up, or Dak for Kyler, I think that they would make that trade. Obviously, it just depends on how he feels about Kyler, but that man in that offense could be real interesting, especially because you're going to get him up out of there. You're not going to give up any picks. You're going to try to do your best to do a straight up trade quarterback for quarterback. I think it's just basically swapping the contracts for the better of the quarterbacks. I love Dak. I just don't think that McCarthy is the solution for him. I don't think Dallas is the solution. I think he needs to go somewhere else. Personally, if I was a team right now, the one that I wish could pull it off, but they're in division, so it's never going to happen, would be the Commanders. Have the Commanders go out there and get Dak Prescott, bring him there with Dotson, McLaurin, and all them, and just really show the NFL what's up. I think it'd be great. I think Ron Rivera would be able to cultivate him and really turn him into a next level quarterback. But unfortunately, we're never be able to see that. So for that reason, we move on to our last 2 topics of the day. It's going to be actually some guys that we were just talking about in division: Arizona Cardinals and McVay and the future of the Rams. Be right back. Roll coverage. And welcome back to Roll Coverage. This is your host, Nick. We're going to move on to our last 2 topics of the day, which is going to be why I got this stuff up for you. It's going to be a Rams future and a future with the Cardinals not having Kyler Murray. Now, obviously, in division, they're not going to do any trades with each other, so I'm going to start with the Rams. I do think that Aaron Donald will be traded at some point. I just don't know when. Trade clause. Boy, that means they'd have to figure out who really likes him. No way. So yeah, I would definitely be getting rid of Donald. Higbee's 30. I would start looking at that. Stafford's got to go. That's probably why. Okay, so we're going to look at this real quick. Okay, Rams, I'm going to say that they're not going to trade to anybody in the NFC. We're just going to keep that out. I'm going to keep it on the other side of the board. People who need quarterbacks, Raiders. Patriots, I guess. I don't really think they need one. Broncos, possibly. Steelers, maybe, but he's too old. The only one I could think of would be the Raiders. Trade him for him. Trade up. Nothing too crazy. I'm going to try this trade. This trade works. Now, this is saying that I think Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Matt Stafford. So that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, I know the whole titles and everything, the whole winning by himself, but whatever. When it comes to other guys on y'all's team, Cooper Kupp will be traded at some point, but for who, we have no idea. I love seeing Bobby. So I would say those are the three. I would say Stafford is a must trade. He is a must trade. So, okay, anyways. So if we do this original trade, this one goes through. You have Garoppolo as the quarterback. So we need to get rid of your defensive tackle. When it comes to defensive tackles, we're probably just going to want to trade him for picks and somebody that's wanting to win now that needs depth. So personally, Bills. Go to the Bills. Micah Hyde's too old. Ed Oliver. For Ed Oliver, second round Bills pick. You probably need more than that. So that would also work. So you could theoretically, wait, why did it work? Trade your Bills. So it would work. He does have a no trade, but obviously if you go into a competing Bills, I think he'd be down for that. I think you could probably get a little bit more for him other than Ed Oliver too, but I would definitely go get Ed Oliver because you're going to be building around Stetson Bennett in the future. So now your quarterback is either Garoppolo to start, or again, if you could just trade him for pieces. A crazy one, to be honest, would be this. You go back here to the Raiders. You trade him. Adams. Stafford. How do we do that? I don't even need Garoppolo. Devontae Adams. Cooper Kupp. Like a 5th round pick. Okay. You now have a much better wide receiver core. Devontae is absolutely crazy. I mean, you guys have options when it comes to that. Now, if you do that, you have Devontae Adams on the team. You still have Stafford. You don't have Kupp, but that's okay. So we do that, okay? Then you come to the Bills and you go, hey, Bills, I want my boy Ed Oliver. I want to trade. I love Dawson Knox, but I don't think you guys trade. Davis, Jack Lawson, I Damian Harris, I love. Obviously, they're not going to trade Josh. So you do that over here. Yeah, Ed Oliver. Who's on their IO? Nope. And then you just do whatever picks you need to do to make this happen. So now you got much younger, cutting some cap, all that other stuff. Now it's just to get rid of Matt Stafford because I do believe you should go with Stetson Bennett. I think that you should just get rid of this contract. Just be done with it. When it comes to teams that might want him, though, Tennessee might want him on a short term. Raiders, maybe Patriots. Stafford to the Patriots? Be really interesting. On the other side, of course, Packers. Trade his ass back to the Lions. That'd be so fun. Finish out his last few years as a backup, but obviously this side's got a lot more. He could be a Falcon. He could be a Viking. I think beat out Kirk Cousins. He could beat out. Still think it'd be so crazy to have them trade him to the Niners. So they get him. You go to what you'd have to give up for him. To be honest, you'd probably have to give up oh no, Kittle's too good. Darnold, Sam Darnold. You'd have to give up picks. Probably a first round pick. Actually, no, he's too old. Second round pick this year. Probably a future. So obviously they get Matt Stafford. We run Brock Purdy and Matt Stafford. That could be. But again, I think it's just this is the year to tank. The reason why I keep bringing this up, the reason why I keep talking about the Rams' future, is because of a quote that came out. A quote from Caleb Wilson's dad, I believe, where he said that he would go back into college football if he didn't feel like he had a good enough position, especially because he's most likely going to go number one or at least top three. Got to look at those top three. If it's Arizona, dodge it like the plague. They're going to Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray. He's going to go someplace else. I've thought of a few options, but Atlanta. Again, San Francisco would still be crazy to add somebody like Kyler Murray. There's a bunch of guys that would just be just bananas to add that man. Kyler especially. But you guys are going to tank for Caleb Williams. I think that after the first game or so, you're going to find out that Matt Stafford doesn't have it anymore. And that you guys are basically just going to tank. So Kupp, Donald, and I even think that Stafford will be traded before the trade deadline. If that doesn't happen, you guys are just going to push, do whatever you can. Now, the one that I was talking about before that was these Arizona Cardinals. Okay. Arizona has already shipped out Isaiah Simmons, D-Hop, Buda Baker's going to get traded, all of that stuff. Buda is not a part of the future, so for that reason, this man is going to be gone. Only 3.7 this year, kind of crazy. AJ's still getting. Oh, he's still getting paid by. Oh. Okay, so Buda is going to be traded up or traded somewhere. Somebody who could use really good corners. Steelers obviously already have quite a bit. I'm personally going to go with Jacksonville. There's some guys in here that you guys could go after. I love it. There's some pieces of it. You're going to have to go get Buda Baker. Going to shore up your DP run. When it comes into that, you're going to have to give up something they're actually going to want. Ooh, a Brandon Scherf, 31 guard. I understand it seems like a lot, but this is where you go crazy with it. You go and get somebody else from them. Honestly, I love Ertz, but he's Brown would be. But I feel like you have enough running back, or good enough running back. Honestly, a Will Hernandez. There's some people on your roster. There's some stuff that you guys can do. Buda needs to go. Marquise Brown, I think, is going to go. Josh Dobbs is going to back him up forever. Matt Prater is going to retire ASAP if he hasn't already. Yeah, you guys just have a meh team at best. I mean, there's really nobody here jumping out. God, this happened. Greg Dortch. Nobody really. Deontay Ingram, Ledbetter, Michael Wilson, BJ Ojolari, who is going to develop in the NFL, and if given the option, is going to smoke people. So watch out for BJ. Yeah, I just don't. Clayton Tune, I think it's. First of all, if you watch this again, the Ohio. Yeah, like where is this man? Kyler Murray isn't on this list. He's not even in their system. I keep thinking it's freaking dude at the end, but it's not. Not Kyler McMichael. That'd be kind of funny if it was. Kyler McMichael sounds like a terrible name. Sounds like a made up man. But no, these Arizona Cardinals are going to cut this up some more. You're going to get rid of some more players. I thought it was hilarious that you guys let Isaiah Simmons go for so little when he's going to freaking dominate. But yeah, you guys really need to think about the future coming up. You guys have the first round of yours and the Texans. Texans will not have a top pick. I think CJ Stroud wins 6-7 games this year and really pulls the Texans out. So that pick is basically worthless. But I would absolutely trade that for whatever you could as quickly as you could. Obviously, you can see what they traded the first round pick for Will Anderson, Lee Ringo, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Will Levis. It's kind of crazy. But overall, both of these teams. Move it back to the regular one. Give me a quick second. Oops. Regular. Move everything else. No more distraction. These two teams are fighting for the number one pick. Now, there's going to be other teams in there. Somebody else is going to suck terribly, like the Raiders. This is going to be a storyline for a minute. It all depends on how bad. Do the Cardinals lean so heavily into tanking that it's just blatant and we're like, okay, yeah, they're going to end up with the number one pick because they're going to win one game? Or is it going to be something where they're actually able to, win a few here and there, just, people just basically don't show up and you're able to basically smoke them? And yeah, that's the way to go. But if that's the case, that opens up the door for the Rams to just slide on in there, get in, get a win. And by win, I mean the number one pick. Both teams are not going to win a whole lot, but it's going to be real interesting. So with that, this is Nick with Roll Coverage. I'm going to get on out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today. Make sure to subscribe us on all of our socials over there. And if you ever want to come on the show, information's on the bottom.